friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do two things. So there's two goals in this video. The first goal is to tell you some books that I might be reading in May. Two are kind of for sure, and the other ones are maybes. I also have one saved this month, and I'll talk about that when I get into the TBR. But first, I want to have a discussion with you about authors, like authors in general, and really the gender of authors. And I don't want to get into a gender studies class or anything like that, but my point is that I have noticed in my reading that I read 99% female authors. I don't think that that's a bad thing. I'm not really complaining. It's just something that I noticed about my own reading. And it was really at the end of April when I finished A Million Worlds with You by Claudia Gray that I was like, hey, what am I going to read for May? And I just started thinking about, let me look through the books that I've already read this year, and I realized that a lot, 99% of my books that I have read are by female authors or female poets. I have not read any books by male authors this year yet, and I've only read 3 male poets. The first one was Bob Raska from Lemonade and Other Poems Squeezed from a Single Word. I read Lavender by Christopher Poindexter, and I read This Is For You or Please Find This by Ian Thomas, that collection that I talked to you guys about. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, I didn't really know what to think about it. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing, but I know that some of you guys out there keep track of, you know, what genres you read, if it's a male or a female author, if it's a translated work, things like that. A lot of you guys have charts and graphs and all that, and as much as I would love to do that, I'm just too busy for that, so I really just read for fun. I don't keep track of, you know, I'm going to read this many diverse books or, you know, this many. I have just found that the easier, lighter, you know, I am with myself and my reading, and I just do it for fun, and if I don't feel like reading, I don't read, and if I do, I do. I have just really found that that helps my reading and my enjoyment of it instead of like turning it into this job, because obviously it's not my job. But I did notice that I read 99% female authors, and I was like, wow, I really would like to read more books by male authors. And of course, I know there are tons of male authors out there. I thought, hey, you know what I could do for May is I could read male authors. So it's going to be Male Author May in my little corner of the world. And I was wondering, like, is it because I read primarily YA? Is it just because I'm a woman that I reach for women authors? Or like, what is it? Like, is it just me? Is it you? What do you think it is? Do you read primarily female or male authors? I know there are some books out there that are written by both, you know, like collaborations and stuff, and I think that's really cool. I don't read a lot of male authors, and I know there's some like really popular ones out there, tons of them out there, but like I don't have their books, and I don't know what it is. Craziness, I know. So, like I said, this is Male Author May. So all of the books that I'm going to show you today are from male authors or male poets, and these are the focus of May for me. It's a little bit outside my comfort zone because I do read primarily female, but also the poetry collections that I have read from male poets haven't been my favorite because I haven't related to them as well, or the symbolism as well as I do in other poetry collections. And a lot of that I do contribute to them being the male perspective. Makes sense, but I just thought I would like change it up and read some males this month. I mean, gotta love me some guys. So I picked out some books, and when I was looking over my shelves, I don't even own a lot of male authors or male poets. But I do have a handful, so I pulled some of them off of my shelf. I do have a couple more, so this isn't all of them, but I figured I could start reading some male authors. So the first book that I've already actually started is The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I'm listening to this on audiobook and reading along with the audiobook. I'm already on I'm on chapter 20, so I'm about halfway there. much different than I thought it was going to be. Also checked the Overdrive app for any other books that were available on audiobook, and Library of Souls by Ransom Riggs was available, so I went ahead and borrowed that. This is the third book in the Miss Peregrine's trilogy. So Ransom Riggs is someone that I read last year with the first two books, and I want to finish out the trilogy. Some other books that I have are The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. This is like 170 some pages, so hopefully I can get through it quickly. Also from the top 10 books I want to read this year, I have The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I also have from that list Not If I See You First by Eric Lindstrom. I also hauled a couple of months ago now Beautiful You by Chuck Palahniuk. He's an author that I have tried to read before, and the premises of his stories always sound really cool, but when I read the previous, or when I tried to read the previous book, Haunted, the story like sounded like it was going to be really cool, but it was just so slow and like uninteresting. There is still one scene of that book though that I will forever have ingrained in my memory. But I'm hoping Beautiful You will be a little bit like quicker paced. Those are the books that I have actually already pulled off of my shelf from male authors that I am going to potentially read this month. None of these sound that interesting to me right now, if I'm being honest. I pulled out some poetry. So I have a bin of all my poetry that I've been hauling, and I went through it, and these are some of the male poets. So I have The Auroras by David St. John. This is one of the first poetry collections, or one of the books from my first poetry haul, and I really want to get to it. This guy has been writing poetry forever, and this is like one of his newer collections. I also last month hauled Chasers of the Light, Poems from the Typewriter series by Tyler Not Gregson, and this is, he kind of was in an antique store, he saw a typewriter, he tore a page out of this broken book that he was going to buy, and he slipped it in and started typing, and he wrote a poem right there on the spot, unedited, and he loved that feeling. So over, it says 3 years and almost 1,000 poems later, he's still doing it, and he loves it. So this book, it's very cool how it's written. It does seem like it has some blackout poetry in it as well, but it's just his poems typed on like little scraps of paper, and there's some photography in here, and it's also these very glossy pages. So I'm excited about that, and it seems like it will go fairly quickly. I also watched a poetry recommendation video where I saw this recommended, Dirty Pretty Things by Michael Faldette, and like I saw this recommended a couple times, and some of them are rather short, like just like a couple lines, and it's printed one side, so that kind of annoys me that there's nothing printed on the back, you know, with me being like an eco person and stuff. So there's that. This is the second one by Ian Thomas. I wrote this for you and only you. Again, modern poetry fit with photography, and I found a couple of gems in the last one, and I hope I find a few more gems in this one. The last two are by the same poet, and that is Saul Williams. I have She, and I have Said the Shotgun to the Head. I've heard great things about this poet, so I'm just really excited to like experience his work for myself. And like with all poetry books, they should go fairly quickly. But that's all I really wanted to talk to you guys about. Please let me know what you think about the whole male-female author thing. Like, do you think it's because I read primarily YA, or because I'm a woman, or like, what is it? Do you read, you know, primarily female or male, or is it pretty split? But yeah, so this is my plan. We'll see how successful I am. My one save is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, also known as Victoria Schwab. So that is the one female I am allowing myself in my May TBR, just because I'm really looking forward to that book, and this is my plan. So plans don't always go the way that you would like them to. But let me know all your thoughts down in the comments. But thank you for joining me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for having a little chat with me. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye.